Jurassic World Dominion is set to introduce new prehistoric species to the film series come June of next year, and some of them recently have been talked about heavily in the fan community. Giganotosaurus, Dimetrodon, Pyroraptor, and Deinonychus have all been floated around in conversations for the past few months. But now, mock-ups of the film's concept art are actually getting discussed as well. And while this isn't a leak, the dinosaur designs themselves are really interesting. Hey guys, hope you're all doing well. Now for today's video, we're going to be talking about what is alleged to be copies, or really very specific accounts, of what is supposed to be the final versions of some of the new dinosaurs for Jurassic World Dominion. Now, I actually talked to quite a lot of people over the last few days to make sure that I got this info as right as I could for the video, just to make sure that we're all on the same page. And what I've been told is, while the art that you're seeing in these images are factually not the official concept art that was used for the real movie, what they do happen to be are designs that someone who is very close with the film saw of the concept art and thus took it upon themselves to redo as accurately as possible so that fans could actually get a glimpse of what to expect. And what we've got to go up against first is of course going to be the Giganotosaurus, which Dr. Grant himself, Sam Neill, has asserted is going to be a pretty big deal in the new movie. Now, this design of the animal here is looking really cool to me, and it actually reminds me of a more Jurassic Park version of the V-Rexes that were in the 2005 version of King Kong. The Giga is designed with a large set of osteoderms running down its head all the way to its back, and I think that could have been what that little bump was that everyone was talking about on the nose in the last video I talked about. Now, the green coloration, it reminds me a lot of the male tyrannosaurs from The Lost World in Jurassic Park 3. Now, I do think that this dinosaur is a little bulky in comparison to what we know about from the actual fossilized counterpart, but honestly, if this is what the final animal looks like, it's a pretty spot-on depiction of the Giga in the Jurassic World universe, or at least one that I personally would be really into. We'll talk more about this guy later, but next up, I want to get to the new raptors, plural with an S. Both Deinonychus and Pyroraptor are set to make their debuts in Dominion, and judging by what we've got here, I think it's safe to say that they're both going to be extremely interesting. What's really cool about the Pyroraptors is the fact that these more accurate looking dinosaurs come complete with feathers that actually connect to the right locations that they're supposed to all around the wing. And their tails even seem to be looking pretty damn cool as well, with a fan that we can see on the end of them. One thing I do think is going to be pretty wild though is how they're going to go about animating those head feathers, because there's something of a majestic or dragon-like quality to them in general. This looks like a big, bright red murder bird that you definitely don't want to screw with. So all in all, paleontologically speaking, and just as a Jurassic Park fan myself, I think this looks pretty awesome, if I'm telling the truth. Now, what people are calling the Deinonychus is where things get even more interesting to me. So, if you know anything about Jurassic Park, you'll know that technically speaking, when paleontologist Gregory S. Paul was helping Michael Crichton and Steven Spielberg tell the story, he helped use the classification of Velociraptor anteropus for the raptors that we see in the movies. This is why Alan Grant digs one up in Montana, which is where Deinonychus anteropus, the same animal that I literally just mentioned, used to live. And it's also listed in concept art and even spoken about in several communities as what the raptors in the movies are actually supposed to be. But you see, over the years, attacks from paleocentric people have caused the Jurassic Park franchise to sort of backpedal and say that no, our raptors are the teeny tiny small raptors that are just the size of a chicken. Velociraptor mongoliensis is what that's called. Now, of course, something named after Mongolia does not live in Montana, but nevertheless, the naysayers won that battle, and even though they just made everything 10 times more inaccurate, the raptors in Jurassic Park are now classified as mongoliensis, which is why these new Deinonychus, Velociraptor anteropus species are so interesting. So if you've been paying attention to the practical effects that we've been getting glimpses of over the last year, you'll notice that these dinosaurs have skins that look similar to the Lost World Jurassic Park male tiger-striped raptors, as well as what I'm going to theorize would be the JP3 white females that we see in that film. Now, I don't really know what the whole goal is behind the new movie, but I think the Deinonychus being colored this way could help tie in some of that Site B action for the plot. and even help explain why the raptors in Jurassic Park 3 look so wildly different when you compare them to everything else. But then again, one seems to be colored like the Lost World animals, so who knows. Either way, these are looking like a brand new form of deadly raptor that I would assume go up against our heroes in some way, shape, or form. Overall, they actually remind me of the Utah Raptor toy from most of those old 1990s lines. So if this is their final design, I think we're going to be getting a lot of cool Alan Grant or Owen Grady stuff with them, or at least a few lines of clarity from Dr. Wu himself. Then there is the Dimetrodon, which is shown here as being super bright red and not really looking much like that stuffed plushie I recently did a video on at all. Either way, I think it still looks pretty cool, and I'm sure most fans can't wait to see what they do with it. Oddly enough, this was the one I was looking forward to the most, and now I think after I've gone through all of these new concept art mock-ups, it's the Giga and the Pyroraptors that I'm really looking forward to. The Deinonychus could be really interesting and offer up some cool lore material as well, but that Giga, man, that thing looks like an absolute tank. And if we get to see it interacting with the cast in a truly original and fun way, a la what they've done with all of their big bad dinos in these films, well then I think we could be in for a super cool time. Now, it's hard to say if these images are exactly what they're going to look like in the final film, but with that being said, I wanted to ask all of you a question that I hope you'll answer in the comments down below. Which one of these designs do you think is the absolute best? Is it the Giga, the Dimetrodon, the Pyroraptor, or Deinonychus? Whatever everyone chooses to be the winner, I want to have a future discussion around that, because I have a feeling Dominion is going to offer up even way more species than what anyone even can theorize about at this point. I mean, we already got the Lystrosaurus and the Pseudo from Battle at Big Rock teased, and this is just a little glimpse of what's to come. So whatever your own thoughts and opinions happen to be, I'd love to hear them in the comments down below. Now before I go, I'd like to thank all of my game wardens, as well as all of my InGen executives. I'd also like to thank all of my parkers and InGen hunters as well. Guys, it seriously means the world to me that you all continue to support what I do, and I never want you to ever forget that. Now, I'd like to thank you all for watching today's video and hope you all enjoyed the content. If you feel like I deserve it, I'd appreciate the like and hope that you'll consider subscribing if you're interested in seeing me again. See you all in the next video, guys, and as always, take it easy.